What is up, everybody? Thank you for watching, jumping into this review. We just got done beating Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, the first one, remastered on PC. I want to mention that now because I think that's important to this review. It is on the PC, not PlayStation. I didn't play with a controller, I played with mouse and keyboard. It's important. If this is your first review you've seen from me, I rate it on 10 to 11 things that kind of encompass everything that a game has: graphics and visuals, gameplay mechanics, story and narrative, audio and sound design, replay value, difficulty and balance, world design and exploration, performance and technical stability, community and multiplayer, if it is applicable, innovation and originality, and hours versus dollars. So, we'll jump right into graphics and visuals. The cool thing about this game being a remastered is you can switch between the original graphics and the remastered graphics. I played the 99% of the game on the remastered graphics, but would pop on the original graphics from time to time. And the original graphics were phenomenal. It's that old gritty PS1, like dark colors, very just boxy but creepy. It looked better, in my opinion, in the original graphics than the remaster graphics, but the remaster graphics were still good. Um, I'm gonna rate the majority of this based off of the remastered version, not the original version. So take that into consideration. We're gonna give graphics and visuals a nice 7.5. Gameplay mechanics: how smooth and intuitive the controls are, the complexity and depth of gameplay systems, and the overall enjoyment of playing the game. This is a tough one for me, especially with this game, because the combat would not there's not much depth to it. For perspective, I didn't get any spells in the game. Didn't look for them, didn't even know they were there until way late in the game. I didn't get any of the little pizza slices to get stronger. I didn't upgrade my health at all. I just, once I got the sword, I just killed people. The boss fights, they were cool. I really appreciated that they had different mechanics for each of them. For a game that came out September 3rd. Oh, wait. PlayStation, August 17th of 1999. So they had unique gameplay mechanics for all the bosses in 1999 in this game, which I really appreciate. The last boss, when you do fight Kain, obviously, is the last boss, really kind of dumb. Personally, sorry, I'm not trying to offend the fandom. I really enjoyed this game, but I think it took 2 minutes and a couple jumps. Just kind of silly. Um, how smooth and intuitive the controls are for a PC port, they were awful. That's not the game's fault. That's the port's fault. So I'm not going to bag on it there. And the complexity and depth of the gameplay systems, the puzzles were all pretty unique. There was a couple repeats. You definitely had to move around a lot of blocks in the game, but for the puzzle game, it really wasn't bad. I'm going to give the gameplay mechanics a 7. Story and narrative: the quality of the storyline, character development, dialogue, and how engaging and immersive the overall narrative experience is. I think this is where this game shines bright. The only problem that I have with it is, like, it felt like a lot of chory tasks to get a little bit of story here and there. I have heard that the second one is more story driven and less kind of like chores, if you want to call it that, like the second one has. But I really enjoyed where the story was going, what they were doing, how everything was tied together. I think that was probably the best part of this game. So I'm going to give that an 8. Audio and sound design: so the quality of the sound effects, music, and voice acting, and how well they contributed to the atmosphere and overall gaming experience, phenomenal through this whole game. The music, the background music, the weird echoes and screams in the background, the voice acting was peak. They killed it in this department through and through the whole entire game. I didn't have any issues with any of the audio or any of the sound design. We're going to give it a 9. Replay value. So the extent to which the game encourages replayability through multiple endings, side quests, new game plus, multiplayer modes, or other factors. This is one of those games that it benefits from replaying because you now know where you're going. So you don't have to spend all that time being like, why am I lost again? You just kind of know where you need to go, which in turn, in my eyes, allows you, not allows you, but gives you more flexibility and freedom to go explore, which obviously I missed a lot of considering I didn't get a single spell through the whole game. There's no increased difficulty. There's no side quests that I know of. I'm sure there's Easter eggs. There's always Easter eggs in old games. No new game plus, no multiplayer modes. So with that being said, like, would I want to replay this game? No, not really. But is there replay value? I think so. And I think the nice part about it is now that once you know how to navigate the game, I feel like those replays would be, and I think I beat the game in about 9 hours. You would chop that down probably in half for a replay. And then you could probably get it even down further if you do a third or fourth play. Which is great. That makes replaying the game a lot easier and makes the score easier to give, which I'm going to do a 6. Difficulty and balance. How well the game is balanced in terms of challenge, difficulty progression, and fairness, catering to both casual and hardcore players. Yeah, I think that there's difficult puzzles where you really have to think about it, which I appreciate. If I didn't stream the game and have a chat and all that type of stuff, I'm sure that the game would have taken me longer. So there's definitely difficulty to the game. The puzzles aren't just elementary puzzles. You really need to think about what you're doing, for some of them, for sure. And I like that aspect. As far as like the combat goes and like the boss fights, I mean, there isn't any. I mean, if you play games, it's not challenging at all, right? But I liked where it's at. I feel like anyone could pick up this game and enjoy it, and I still think like hardcore gamers would have a lot of enjoyment in the game. So we're gonna give it a 7.5. World design and exploration. So the richness and detail of the game world, the diversity of environments, and the sense of discovery and exploration offered to the player. This is so hard for this game to rate because, and I'm just going to be completely blunt, the way that the world is laid out is fucking dumb. It is. There's not much semblance to it when you go through it the first time. You just run and jump into dead ends all the time, and I felt like the majority of the difficulty for me in this game was just knowing where I was at. And I assume that that's probably fun for some people. For me personally, not really. I didn't really enjoy that side of it, and it made me want to actually explore less because the whole time I was like, I just need to figure out where I'm at. But there's a but here. It's a big one. It's Raziel's fat ass. I don't know why they gave him such a dump truck in this game. It's weird. But the but here is that every single area that you go to is visually so different. Like starkly different from each other. And I really appreciate that. I think I talked about this on one of the nights that I was streaming this is, this was the time frame when, people who were developing games were doing it for the passion of the games, right? Like there was way more developers making games because they wanted to make badass games. And you can tell through and through this whole entire game that was the case. To all the small little details on the walls, to all the small little ledges, like they really cared about their game. They want it to look cool. So even though the map is confusing, but you could potentially learn it, and I was just stubborn. I don't think I can take that away. I don't think I can negate points from world design and exploration because I loved how everything was different. I'm going to give it an 8. Performance and technical stability, how well the game runs technically, including factors such as frame rate, loading times, optimization across different platforms, and the absence of bugs and glitches. I mean, it's a 1999 game that was remastered. There was times where I threw motherfuckers through walls and they just disappeared. It didn't bother me. There was no loading times really. Everything loaded perfectly fine. The biggest thing, the biggest issue that I have that will negate points here is if you're playing on mouse and keyboard, there is lots of issues with it. That was my decision. Playing on PC, I could just have plugged a controller in, but I like playing mouse and keyboard with everything. There was issues with the movement quite a bit, to be completely frank. One of the bosses where you had to jump pillars or whatever, it was a nightmare. But as far as like performance wise, the game ran great. There was no glitch. I mean, there was no frame rate issues or anything like that. We're gonna go ahead and put this at a 6. Community and multiplayer, since there's no multiplayer, I put community and multiplayer. Obviously, this game has a fantastic community behind it. People who just love the game and are passionate about the game and are very friendly about the game, which is rare to find nowadays. I only rate this portion if there is a multiplayer, just because I think that can drive away a game if the community around a multiplayer game is bad. Innovation, originality. So the extent to which the game introduces fresh ideas, innovative gameplay mechanics, or unique twists on existing genres, contributing to its overall creativity and distinctiveness. I wish that I had a lot more games to compare this to from like the 97 to 2001 time frame. I've played games during that time, but it's so hard to think back on that, and I haven't played anything recently. I feel like they did innovate quite a bit, and I do think there's a lot of games who uh, or a lot of companies that have created games based off of Legacy of Kain, specifically the Soul Reavers. And in that sense, I think that they killed it. There's so much to this game and so many cool aspects, and being a long-term MMORPG player too, like I can even see some of the early feelings of like boss mechanics in here, and it's really cool to see. I'm gonna give that an 8. And then hours versus dollars. So I do believe this game was $29.99 or $39.99. Let me double check here. Legacy of Kain Remaster price $29.99. Oh wait, PC. Let's just look it up on Steam. Because I bought it on Steam. $29.99. So $30. I beat the game fairly blind, aside from some help in 9 hours. But it does come with the second game. So if the second game is another 9 hours, 10 hours, and again, like I said, I had help from my chat and people watching me play, which is awesome. So my realistic time was probably closer to 12 to 14 hours if I was playing by myself. Times that by 2, 24, 25 hours maybe. I think it makes sense to spend the money for this game if you were worried about hours versus dollars. So I'm going to give that an 8.5. So let's get our handy dandy calculator here, and we'll do some calculations. And that's going to be a 7.5 out of 10, which is a very, very respectable score for a remastered game. So to put that in perspective, that's hanging pretty high in a lot of games here that I've done recently. So let me know what you guys think. I appreciate it. I'm gonna get back to streaming. Thank you for watching.